Welcome to Salaam Nerds Podcast. We do reviews and recaps of nerd culture, reality TV, and current events from this week.
Yo, it's the Salaam Nerds. My name is Dean, a.k.a. Watch the Dean. I'm here with my boy Chad.
We drop live episodes on YouTube on Sundays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays at 10:30 p.m. Eastern. All episodes can also be found everywhere podcasts are found. Thank you to all our supporters. Please help us by subscribing and leaving a good review on Apple Podcasts and...
Yo, Salaam Nerds. It's your boy Neebs, a.k.a. Watch with Neebs, and I'm here with Nub, the poet. Welcome to the show, Nub. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing well. How are you?
Let's go. I know we're a little late because I was at Comic-Con and I was super busy and I'm trying to get back into the swimming things, but SummerSlam. Let's talk about it. What do you want to talk about? Cody Rhodes.
Yeah, it was a great show in my opinion.
Yeah, I gotta say, favorite match of the day, of the night, Liv and Rhea Ripley. That was my favorite match. Yeah, I loved it. I loved the drama. I loved the gimmick with the shoulder. I love the twist at the end. I love the return of Rhea. I thought it was super exciting. One of my favorite matches of the night, and it was an opener. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it was definitely a great match. I really don't have... Honestly, I could see people making a claim for almost any match on the card, except for one, in my opinion, and we'll get to it.
I wonder if it's the same one that I'm thinking of. All right,
probably. Knowing you and the wrestlers involved in this match.
Okay.
But we'll get to it when we get to the different matches. But yeah, I mean, like, such a strong opener, and it's become a very common what's the word? Just like thing of the women opening the show and killing it. Like, I think Becky and Rhea opened the WrestleMania as well, you know, and like they had an incredible match, and like the women constantly are like, opening is not a bad thing. It's actually almost as important as closing, because
you set the tone. You set the tone for the entire night. That's why, like, I remember when I was watching the Elimination Chamber, the first match was the women's, and it set the tone for the night. And you're like, oh, this is going to be a good night. It's probably the second most important match of the whole night, in my opinion, because it definitely is important and it sets the tone. And I really do enjoy it. Yeah,
and I think because, and we'll get into it with other matches on the card as well, but it's the fact that, like, you don't need to do the craziest moves and spots in a match if the story is strong enough, which this one has had nearly a year technically of build, even more than that, because Liv got injured sometime last year, right? And so the story was set then, but even before that, her and Rhea were a tag team, and Rhea turned on Liv.
Wait, Rhea and Liv were a tag team? I didn't know this. How long ago was this?
This was like early last year. They teamed at WrestleMania, and they were a team before them, but they had a match at Mania, and they maybe teamed a little longer than that.
Not too long. So it's not too long that they've been enemies, and before that, partners. Wow, cool.
Yeah, so like there's a whole, like, all the lore. We keep talking about this every time we do a show, because like wrestling has so much lore, like WWE specifically. Like there's so much lore when you really go back into it, and then Liv making it, oh, because you injured me, I'm going after you. And then everything we've seen since Mania and since Rhea getting injured and Liv trying to like take over / I don't know, like control the Judgment Day, like all of that with Dominic and everything. It's all culminating here in this match. Or at least like the first chapter of it seems. And they did great stuff in ring as well, but I'm just saying, like, you don't need to always do the most spectacular moves or sequences if the story is there. And like this match is such a perfect example of that. I think we all knew the turn was coming at some point. Maybe we didn't know if it was going to be at SummerSlam, but we knew that Dominic was going to. But just the way it was executed and the reveal of it, because like even once it happened, I was still like, wait, is he turning? Or are they gonna prolong it a little more?
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
And so it's so good, and the crowd the whole night just made the show that much better too.
I agree. The crowd was so into it. The other thing that I think was really, really cool was the shoulder injury. Let me ask you, did you believe it? Do you think it's true? Were you a mark, or were you when you watched it, you were like, no, that's completely fake?
I initially was concerned and buying into it. And
Yeah.
then once she did the spot where she popped her shoulder back in, I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
okay, it's a story thing."
Yeah.
But it just makes it better. This is another theme of SummerSlam, is predictability is not necessarily a bad thing.
Sure.
So much of what happens across this night is kind of predictable, but it doesn't matter because it's what we want to see. Like, we are excited for it. So,
Yeah.
like, the turn, Dominic getting involved and everything, like, yeah, we knew it was coming at some point, whether it was tonight, like at SummerSlam, or if it was going to be another show, but like, it didn't matter because it was done well, and like, just everything about it executed. And then the follow-up when you get to Raw, man, I'm so hyped.
It was really cool because I saw so many people online being like, yo, I saw her bone pop out. I could literally see her bone popping out. It's real. It's real. And for me, like, I knew what was happening because I have the same exact shoulder injury. So basically what happens is, like, your shoulder over here, if you get a separation, it basically pops out, and they don't put it back in. What they do is, you can almost see it. What they do is they let it heal naturally. And if it heals naturally, it heals faster. If you do surgery, it takes much longer for it to heal. The only problem with it healing naturally and healing with surgery is that your bone sticks out a little bit. So basically what she does is she contorts her elbow a little bit so you can see the deformity and the way it kind of pops out. And the way it works is, like, you can kind of do it at any time. I'm not gonna lie, she's probably still in a lot of pain because it takes like a year for the inflammation and everything to go down. But she was definitely using that gimmick to sell the match. And I was like, the selling was amazing because I knew what was happening and I bought it. I was like, and then when she starts like slamming her shoulder into the, because then you're like, that's theatrical, and I love it, and I was totally into it. But I also knew, like, yeah, that's I know what's happening. I know why her bone's sticking out. It's from a shoulder injury previous, not the shoulder injury that happened during the match, which is why she threw her into that turnbuckle in the beginning of the match, so people didn't notice it before it actually starts showing up. And I think that was a smart move to use that shoulder injury to really sell the match, because there were parts where, like, I was like, ooh, that looks real. And then you see Liv just like hitting it. And then there's a part of me that's like, oh, is Liv trying to pop it back into place and she's really trying to help her? Like, maybe that's what's happening here. Like, it was so many things. Even if you know wrestling is not real, there's also all this thought, like, oh, maybe she's trying to help her. And there's so many layers to it that I thought was really cool. Someone said, didn't somebody else pop their shoulder too later that night? I don't know. I don't remember seeing that.
There was another a match where there was a focus on the shoulder. I forgot if it was Bailey or LA Knight. I forgot. One of the other matches, they had another wrestler's arm was being targeted. I don't know if that's what they're thinking of, but yeah, like, even that, again, that's part of the magic and beauty of wrestling, is like, it's not just them wrestling, right? There's a story. Like, in this one, Liv is targeting the shoulder because she was kayfabe / actually injured in the shoulder, right? And so now, like, all of her attacks focus on the shoulder, and then like the popping it back in by like slamming herself against the table and stuff. Like, it's ridiculous, but that's what's so amazing. And it's just like, it also makes Rhea look like such a monster.
Yeah,
she just did that, because I've never seen someone do it that way. I've seen wrestlers like pop their like shoulder or different things back in, but the way she did it, like just slamming herself into it, it's just like, oh my goodness, she's a mad woman.
It reminded me of, I don't know if you've seen Godzilla versus Kong, but King Kong literally dislocates his arm and then bangs his shoulder into an entire building to pop it back into place. And this is exactly how ridiculous it was. And I thought that was so funny.
Yeah.
But it also sells the match in terms of like, because there is obviously a big discrepancy in the power that is Rhea and Liv, and it kind of basically makes it a little bit more equal the match. As she has a broken shoulder, you're kind of like, oh, now Liv has the advantage. So giving the heel the advantage in the match makes that match a lot more fun to watch for the audience, because you want to obviously root for the face, but when the face outpowers the heel, it doesn't give that like sense of like, oh no, the hero is in danger.
Yeah.
Where this is a great way to retell that story and get the fans to really, feel that danger for the protagonist in the storyline, which I really liked the way they did that. I thought that was really, really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it was executed really well, and the in-ring action was great. And then the finish, I mean, it was just a great finish. Just again with the whole like keeping it kind of ambiguous for a second, where you're just like, oh, did he just mess up? And
Right.
then he just turns around and smiles, and you're just like, oh, this scumbag.
How the fuck did this motherfucker? He's a heel, and he does a heel turn as a heel. How does one do that? How you become a bigger heel?
Yeah, it is. I mean, honestly, and I think Dominic has a long way to go in terms of like in-ring work, but what they've been able to do with him in terms of his character over like 4 years, because he started in like 2020, 2021. Like he had his first match on pay-per-view, I believe.
Yeah, with Rollins, I believe, right?
Yeah. His first match was at a premium live event. I think it was SummerSlam against Seth Rollins, which if you're gonna put a very inexperienced person against anybody, yes, Seth Rollins 100% the guy to do it. But it's like, so he went from that and this like no real persona or character, just Ray's son, to what we have now. Like, and it's just, if one of my friends, he despises Dominic to the level of like he doesn't even want to see him. But I'm like, man, you can't deny that like there's something there about just like the character he's playing, and he refuses to admit it. But I'm just, clearly it's working, because he gets booed out of every building.
He does definitely get booed out. Like, he can't even speak on the mic because it's like the blues are so deafening, where he can't even talk. Someone in the comments says Eddie Guerrero was a heel and often dominated. I think Eddie Guerrero had that thing where he would like lie, steat, and chill, which is kind of like what Dom is kind of going for. And I think that's such a great turn, because he's never going to be like his father. I don't think he has that ability, but instead he decides to take a page out of Eddie Guerrero's book and try to be this like dastardly character, which is funny because his true father. Yeah, exactly. I didn't even watch wrestling around that time, and I knew about the match for custody of Dom, and even I knew about that. And I think that's so funny that match was like in the stratosphere for non-wrestling fans even. It's really, really cool. But yeah, I definitely love this match. And the best part is, like, we saw the finish and you're like, oh, this has happened before. It's a mistake. How many times are they going to do this? And then they go and you see that smile. And then you're like, wait a second, what's happening here? Then they spend like another 2 minutes trying to like not show him on camera. And you're like, wait, go back to him.
Yeah.
Then they finally show him picking her up and then giving her the kiss. The camera work was insane in this, where they showed you as much as they wanted you to see. And then they finally have the big reveal and you're like, damn, that's crazy. But at this moment, we're only thinking that it's just Dom and that's it. So it's pretty crazy. And you see like Damien will run in and he's like, I'm going to kill him. And they're all still like kind of being like, oh yeah, this has got to be a misunderstanding. What's happening, right? And then we get the thing later on, which we'll talk about. But let's move on to the next match. The next match was Braun and Sammy. Now, listen, I think we've done at least like, I don't know how many of these we've done for wrestling, but there were at least 3 pay-per-view events where we said Sammy had the best match of the night.
Yeah.
I feel like this was the worst match of the night.
100%, dude.
What happened here?
So you know what's the issue too? It went less than 6 minutes.
That's so weird.
And you know how frustrating that is, knowing that Sami Zayn, who has always been this like underdog who withstands so much beating, and like all baby faces do, but like Sami Zayn is that character of like he goes through hell and still like, you know, maybe he comes up short, but he puts in like he gives his heart to the match.
Yeah.
We saw that at WrestleMania. Like he freaking beat Gunther. He ends his historic Intercontinental title reign, and then he loses in less than 6 minutes to Braun Breaker of all people. I knew it was gonna happen.
But who he beat clean just a pay-per-view ago. Like, I don't get that.
In a longer, better match. It wasn't like an amazing match, but it was a better match that they had at whatever the last show was. I can't remember right now. But
Money
like
in the Bank, right?
Yeah. So like they had a solid match last time. Like, I'm not gonna act like that match was. This was just not a good match. Like I think there were a total of like 3 moves that happened. Like nothing happened in this match.
That's so strange.
It's so ridiculous. The only consolation I will accept is if it's because it's to get Sammy with Jay as the bloodline, as the OG bloodline, the OB, the original bloodline.
Honestly,
form.
that's not. I wouldn't be honestly. I wouldn't be too. I wish he lost it in a more like dramatic way, but I wouldn't be mad if they do go ahead with this like bloodline civil war thing, build it up to Survivor Series, and this enforcer for the bloodline is Sami Zayn. I think that'd be great. I would love that. We got Jey Uso, we got Sami Zayn, we got Paul Heyman. We all we need is Jimmy to turn.
Yep.
I think that would be a fun Survivor Series Civil War. Then we got, we also got the Judgment Day Civil War. I think those 2 things would be really, really cool. I wouldn't mind Sammy losing it for that reason. I think that would be really, really fun. I'm just not a big fan of Braun though. I don't know. I just don't. People seem to really like him. He seems very athletic, but he's just like Mean Goldberg. That's all he is.
I mean, we talked about this last time too. I'm not a fan of him. He's super talented in the ring. I've seen him in NXT. He can do a lot, but the way they decide to portray him once he's now come to Raw is just like you said. He's Goldberg, and getting tired of the dang spear just being it's just not working for me. But yes, people seem to like him, so what do I know? Apparently.
Yeah, I guess he didn't. But the thing is, he put half-ass. Like, how he does that ring thing where he runs really fast in the ring. He didn't even do it at full speed. I was just like, what is this? It's like they told him like, hey, we need to fill. It's like, I know you guys were gonna have a match, but we need more time. So what we're gonna do is have you guys shorten the match, and then we'll just do the rematch some other time. And I was like, all right, maybe that's what they did. But then like, why be one clean? I don't know. It was weird.
Yeah, and that does happen quite often. Maybe I don't know how much has happened since Triple H has taken over creative, but with Vince that would happen a lot, where like for some reason a match would go over or whatever, and so they would have to they'd end up cutting other matches either in time or just like completely. Like matches have just been removed from cards before.
Yeah, I saw like a TikTok of like a Liv Morgan match where they just cut the whole match and it was like her big return or something like that. So it does happen. Someone says Scott Steiner was in attendance during SummerSlam. Yeah, I mean maybe that might have something to do with it. They didn't really make a big deal out of it. But yeah, it was a bit of a lame match. Do you think Sammy and Jay may get the tag titles?
That would be fun because they never had the tag titles. The Usos had the tag titles as part of the bloodline, so that would be cool to see them.
Someone said that would be very Usi. It looked like everyone's seen that clip of Sammy saying Usi.
So good, it's so good. I would love to see more Jay and Sammy, just doing their thing, being friends, and like I really want to see Sammy be the bridge because I don't think Jay will be ready to forgive Roman very easily. But I feel like Sammy would be that kind. He has that personality of like, hey man, we all make mistakes. We all do, see how, look at the bloodline. We have to end the bloodline. Roman wants to end the bloodline. Yeah. Like, I could see him being that, like, you know, over the course of like a few weeks or something, he's like trying to convince Jay, and then like Roman and Jimmy are getting beaten down. Sammy comes out to help. He's getting beaten down. Finally, Jay's music hits and the crowd goes insane. And he comes and the 4, you know, OG Bloodline members stand together. That's one way I could see it happening.
That would be really cool. That would be really, really fun to see. So, we'll see how that goes. But right now, Sammy, I don't know. I did like the fact that they were like, they did try to spin the story that Sammy is no longer focused on wrestling. He's focused on his comedy show, and because of that, he's slacking, right? Which kind of makes it more believable that he's like not doing a good job, like he's letting the fame and whatever get to him, and he's kind of just like doing other things. So I don't know if that's something that they'll do. Next match, we got LA Knight and Logan Paul. Not a big fan of Logan Paul this week. He's been in tweeting some problematic stuff, so I was really not looking forward to seeing him fight, and I'm not a big fan of him overall. Then this motherfucker pops out with this dope ass moonsault off the ring, and I was just like, damn, I gotta give it to him. That was a sweet moonsault. It was a good match, not gonna lie. It was a pretty good match, but I did like to see Logan lose. It was fun to see Logan lose. I'm happy he lost the title.
Yeah, it was a great match. Though Logan's in-ring exploits will never what's it called? Like supersede or, you know, wash away just the trash person that he is. At least not for me. WWE seems fine with it, which they have, you know, that's their priority, of course. But yeah, like I can say, yeah, he had a great match. He still sucks, just like as a person. And so it is what it is. I'm glad LA Knight finally has gotten something. Like for the last year, he's been like at that like you know, peak or not peak, but you know, he's been, you know, hitting the, what's it called? He's been moving up. And just like it always felt like he was almost there, but they just for whatever reason weren't having him take the next step, kind of thing. So
I mean, the crowd loves him, right? I mean, when we went to the SmackDown event, like the crowd went crazy for him. So he's definitely got that draw.
Oh yeah, dude. I was talking about this with my friends because I was watching SmackDown clips. Like I don't watch the shows, but I just, you know, watch the clips online the next day, and it's just like there are at least 5 to 7 people that are so over with the crowd. Like the crowd erupts the second that person shows up on screen, their music hits. And I love that because for a long time, at least the past like 10 years, we did not have that. We had like Cena, Orton, and like that was it. Those were the only 2 people that would get like insane reactions. And now it's just like every other person that's in a key storyline is getting huge reactions, cheers, boos, and I love it because the crowd makes the difference so much.
It does. The energy is great. You love to see it. And then although MGK happened to be in there out of nowhere, of course, that's the thing with Logan Paul. I feel like it's stale. His gimmick is stale. Like somebody comes out in the ring, gives him the knuckles, and he uses it. It's like, how many times can you do that over and over again until it goes like until it's boring? I feel like it was boring like two matches ago, and he's only defended his title twice in like 250 days or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So I get that. Great athleticism, but I'm over the story. I'm over the gimmick. It's over.
It is very much a basic heat generating thing, but I think for a lot of people, the ROI isn't as strong. Like even just having his buddies. The only part I enjoyed about that was Michael Cole being like, "It's that goof, Jeff." His disdain for his buddies was so. But other than that, like it's always there's someone there to like assist him.
Yeah,
and it either works or it doesn't. But it's like, okay, we get it. Just like do something different.
But it's such like an obvious, like cheap viral moment that they're trying to build. It's like MGK, this basketball player, this football player, this streamer, like, you know, speed, like it seems like it's so like it seems like a TikTok collab. Someone's like, "Hey, yo, you want to collab with me?" Like that's what it is. A TikTok collab.
That's really good.
Right? That's all he's
Yeah.
doing. And he's like, yeah. And I can see him pitching this to WWE. Like, hey, this guy's going to come in. He's going to bring all his followers. So everyone who watches him is also going to watch this match. He's going to bring new eyes to the wrestling. And like, I get it. I see the way he's pushing this and promoting it. But like, maybe once or twice it was fine. But like, we're over it. Like, it's fine. Like, nobody cares about MGK. Like, I don't care.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what happens next, because I don't know how much we'll see of him anyway for like the next few months at least. I feel like he won't be around too much until maybe Survivor Series, if that.
Yeah.
If not, then maybe the Rumble. Like, he doesn't compete full time anyway, so
Yeah.
I think, like, I know he signed like a multi-year contract, but if his run ended here, I would have been like, cool, like this was good. You had some strong matches. You like built some, decent feuds and rivalries, and you impressed the crowd. Like that would be a call it a day type of thing. Like
go out on top.
Yeah.
I agree. That wouldn't be too bad. So we'll see how that goes. The next match that came out was the Nia Jax and Bayley match. I don't know how I expect this to go down, but it wasn't like this. So basically, we see Tiffy Time, who you don't like. I'm a fan. She comes out, and you think she's coming out with her briefcase. So you're like, is she going to use a briefcase right now? And basically, all she does is distract Bayley with it, and then Nia Jax uses it to win the match. She does 2 of the Annihilators, and that's it. And then you're like, well, Tiffy's still there. Is she going to use the briefcase? And she ends up not using the briefcase. And I think the better story would have been if she used the briefcase a few weeks ago after Nia Jax beat the crap out of Bayley, and she was lying there in the middle of the floor completely knocked out, and she was about to use the briefcase, and then Nia looks at her and prevents her. I was like, that would have been such a better storyline. Like Nia did all the work and she takes the win and she becomes the champion. And now Tiffy has to face Nia. I thought that would have been a cooler story. But I think WWE has something better in mind. So, if Nia Jax is going to keep the title, Tiffy's going to have to use it against her bestie. So we'll see what happens. What do you think is going to happen?
Oh, she's gonna use it on Nia. I'm like 99% sure that's who she's taking it from. I think the story they're going with is like, oh yeah, we're friends. You'll never use it on me. And Tiffany eventually, when like the opportunity comes, will use it on Nia, because like ultimately Tiffany cares about herself over anybody else. And so it'll just be like a great moment, great reaction, because the crowd loves her. I won't care either way. But yeah, I think that's and I get what you're saying, but I see the merit to this story, and I think it'll be a lot of fun as like they slowly kind of build Tiffany to like get to that place to cash in, and like maybe Niall. I mean, I don't know if they turn Nia face, because I feel like Tiffany should go face based on the crowd reactions. Like I don't know the point of her being a heel, other like her character works for being a heel, but the crowd likes her too much for her to be a heel.
Yeah.
So it's one of those situations of like, it's like with Rhea Ripley. Like for the past year, Rhea has been getting cheered. So she was treated as a heel up until very recently. And it's like, at some point you gotta let the crowd like enjoy cheering for the person,
Fair.
So
that's very true. I do feel like, I would love to see Tiffy go against Chelsea Green, because I feel like they have like good banter back and forth. And I know that's your worst nightmare, because it's like the two personalities that you hate.
A headache.
I think they would be so good together. It'd be like Clueless wrestling. I thought it'd be really, really funny. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm excited for that. I feel like
I could see another idea has like maybe in the middle of a match of Nia's, or like at the end of a match, or maybe in the middle, like Nia, like Tiffany cashes in, but Nia ends up betraying Tiffany and like going, attacking Tiffany and pinning her. And so like, Tiffany loses the briefcase, but then it sets her on a path to go against Nia to actually win the championship like proper. Because and that aligns her as a face where the crowd is already cheering for her anyway. Because Nia is just like a really easy, detestable heel. Like it's just easy to not like her. And so I think that would actually work really cool where like Tiffany tries to cash in, people are excited, but then like she's pinning the like if it's Nia and someone else in a match and she makes it a triple threat with the cash in, Tiffany's pinning that person and Nia just leg drops her, hits the Annihilator, pins her because she's the one who decides to be the selfish one, and everybody's just like, bro. But then it just leaves Tiffany like, oh, now I'm gonna go after you and I'm gonna take that title, and it kind of allows her character to develop too, to get a bit more serious.
Yeah. I think that'd be a good storyline. I wouldn't mind that. Speaking of storylines, though, my favorite storyline, the Drew McIntyre, Seth Rollins, and CM Punk storyline. This match was a special guest referee match. Obviously, Seth Rollins comes in looking like he robbed Liberace. It was very exciting. But then I really enjoyed Seth Rollins in the match because he's like, wait, don't do this. Yeah, you can do it. It was really funny. Yes. I think Seth did a great job making the match entertaining and them trying to see what they can and can't get away with. Referee's discretion. It was a fun match to watch. And then at the very end, we see the communication issue with the bracelet, and CM Punk sees the bracelet, goes red, decides to beat up Seth Rollins, and ultimately costing him the match. And then Drew McIntyre is the one who didn't which is kind of like what happened to Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania, which happened to CM Punk at SummerSlam. So they're basically the same people. They're two sides of the same coin, which is really, really funny, which is why they hate each other so much.
Yeah. I agree with everything you said, and I loved Seth. I'm always weary of special guest ref matches because usually it's just like they're not very involved or at all, present until whatever happens at the end happens, whatever screw job or anything. But I loved, like you said, Seth, being like it's just the little things of like, he's not even counting when they're outside the ring. He's not trying to do a 10 count. He counts and he's just like getting in their face like, hey, you have to listen to me when they're like up against the rope and everything. And just, McIntyre goes for a pin and he gets on his knees, says, my bad knees, I'm sorry. Like, he doesn't even get to the count. There's this one clip I saw on TikTok. I didn't catch it in the match, but like Drew hits, I think, like a belly to belly or something, and Seth he goes for a pin, and then Seth either counts slow or doesn't count or whatever, and Drew's like looking at him, he's like, you've never won with an overhead belly to belly. What are you talking about? That's amazing.
Wait, Seth said that to him?
Yeah. Which is what I always say when people go for pins. I'm like, come on, dude, why are you pinning him after a suplex? That doesn't work. It's just like, it was great. And so like, Seth's just like these little elements until you got, it was really entertaining, like you said. And
I think Seth might be my favorite guest referee. I thought that was really fun. So I know, like, in a real match, the referee does have some responsibilities. Like, I don't know, they help keep track of the time. They make sure the person's okay. They help like guide the matches. Was Seth doing any of that, or do you think he was just there for shits and giggles?
Great question. I don't think he was doing any of that stuff. But like, it's Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, and CM Punk. They're like the epitome of pros, so they probably didn't really need to have much guidance, as long as everything ran smoothly, which it did. And this is another match of like, okay, the action itself wasn't like, again, the most like compelling or exciting. But it's just, again, the story, and you just want to see them beat each other up, whatever that means. That could just mean a bunch of punching back and forth. That could mean, big slant, whatever it was. And then but it worked because like the story was all there.
It's been building since Royal Rumble.
Yeah. It's just two guys that want to rip each other's heads off. And that's all you needed. And it's just the best feud of 2024. I'm going to say it, even though we're only halfway through 2024, is the best feud of 2024.
it's the best feud I've seen since I've come back to wrestling. Like it's fantastic.
Yeah.
I enjoy it immensely.
And it's not done.
Yeah. Oh, you know what's really funny? The storyline with the bracelet is being used so much that the fan who gave that bracelet was like, "Yo, can I get something out of this?" Like you're using that damn bracelet as an entire storyline,
Yeah.
and like they're like, "Can we get a few free tickets? Can we we get on camera?" Like it was really funny.
See, that's the like magic of WWE compared to like other companies. And it's not to like hate on other companies, but it's like they just find it seems so minuscule and simple, but they know how to take a simple concept, like someone's like a fan made bracelet, and make
Yeah.
it into this whole like core of a storyline. Like,
Yeah.
it went from, oh, you injured me, to, oh, you stole my bracelet. Like that's the storyline now, and I just want to kill you because you stole my bracelet. Like that.
With my wife and dog's name on
Yeah.
it. And I thought it was really weird. Of like, your dog, what the hell is this? But then I went to Comic-Con where Mattel was promoting all of their toys,
Mm.
and CM Punk and Zoe Stark were there, and CM Punk talked about his dog quite a bit, and a lot of the fans brought up his dog. So apparently his dog is a big deal to the fans. I did not know that.
Dogs. People love their dogs, you know. I mean,
White-
we saw it later on.
White
too.
people love their dogs, but yes.
We saw it later at SummerSlam. Cody had his dog, Pharaoh.
Oh, yeah.
Like, yeah, you're right. White people love their dogs, and so,
People love their dogs, man.
so
They treat them better than minorities.
Yeah. So
there's
it is.
more-
It's
I'm
foreign
gonna-
to me too. I was just
Yeah.
like, why is this such a big deal? I've been around enough white people to like, okay, animals are important.
They're important. They're family to them. There's more laws to protect dogs than there are minorities, man.
Jeez.
It's freaking crazy. I
Yeah.
remember there's like, you can't leave them outside. You can't put them outside, and what they have to have a certain type of leash. There's so many laws when it comes to your
That's
pet.
wild.
Even like when traveling on planes and stuff like that, they have so many laws for pets, which is very interesting. But yes, all right. And then finally, CM Punk hits Seth Rollins with the GTS, and that ends up costing him the match. And then Seth Rollins comes to, and then basically wins the match. I like that. I thought that was super great. And I think it sets up for a fun story. Like, I wasn't ready for the story to end. I wanted to go more, and I feel like they found a great way to keep it going.
Yeah, I mean, it's so simple, but it's genius, because the plan was Seth Rollins versus CM Punk at WrestleMania 40 for the World Heavyweight Championship. They had to pivot because Punk got injured. So then you do Seth and Drew. Then you still involve Punk. So now they're already in a triangle feud in a way, right? Seth is gone for a bit. The two of them feud. You bring Seth back. So now that Punk has hit Seth with the GTS, and even on Monday night, like, he gets, they confront each other. So now you can easily just, whenever you want, you can bring Seth and Punk together to get that match. And then still the Drew Punk feud is going on. Like, it's just so many layers to this storyline and to a lot of their storylines that we haven't seen in a long time, which is why I think they're doing so well right now as a company.
Yeah, no, I agree. What are your thoughts about Braun Breaker coming in and tsunami splashing Seth Rollins like 9 times, and then now he's in the mix?
Bronson Reed.
Yeah.
Loved it. I loved it. I thought it was great. I've always enjoyed Bronson, and I was curious like how they would use him. And this just, I saw it so much online. People like, this made Bronson. Like, he was a monster, but he's like really a monster now. And I'm just like, this is, and the fact that they had like Seth coughing up blood, I was like, wow, they're really selling it.
Yeah, I did see Seth drop something in his mouth, and I was like, the camera caught you. But yes, I thought that was cool. The internal bleeding line, I thought that was great. I really like the way Bronson Reed does his splash. Like, he never puts 2 legs on the rope and jumps. He puts one leg, and then you see the other one kind of like in midair, and it gives this like instability kind of feeling when he splashes on you. Like, he lost his balance, and he's therefore gonna hurt you more. It's really cool way he does the splash. I really enjoy it. Someone says, is Seth a heel or a face? Well, he's definitely over. So I would say he's a
face.
face. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's definitely a
yeah.
face. But
But
yeah,
I agree about Bronson's splash, and it is different because like most people, they get to the top and then they leap, and he just kind
yeah,
of like has one foot on the top, then he just leaps from that position, and like, but it. I don't know if it's because it's his size; it just looks more devastating.
it does look devastating.
Like it's cool when you see someone like Montez Ford jump like 100 feet in the air and splash
Right.
on someone, but his is like this small little arc that just
Yes. It's like it's so weird. Like I don't know why. It just feels more devastating
yeah.
when he does it. So it's really, really cool.
Yeah, it's great
Um,
though. I'm excited to see what they do with him, like next week or in the months forward. I'm curious to see like how they set him up for what I don't know what they set him up for, but like if this kind of like puts him into the upper mid card, like even kind of interacting with more main eventers, like maybe
yeah.
you know faces Punk in a match or so. I don't know. That's very kind of disconnected, but just like stuff like that would be interesting.
Yeah, because I'm really curious because I would think he would go for someone who's more mid card, like Braun Breaker or
Yeah.
somebody. But he went for Seth Rollins, who doesn't hold a title, but is still like a main eventer, kind of, right? Like a big guy. So we'll see how that goes. But finally, the next match was Gunther and Damian Priest. And this was a pretty good match. We saw the chops, and holy crap, those chops! Like, I also think that was a, I think he cut himself a little bit. I don't think the bleeding was from actual chops, but it looked pretty devastating. Definitely a pretty good match. I really like watching Damian Priest fight because he's such a fun wrestler to watch. He's such a big guy with size. Then he also have these like karate kicks and punches and stuff like that. It's a lot of fun to see him. And then we see I feel like there was a little bit of a mistake in this where I think he like does a move on on what you call Gunther, but he has to push him near the ropes.
Yeah,
I noticed, which happens.
yeah.
But then Finn Balor comes out, and we saw him come out a little bit earlier to distract Gunther, and Gunther hits him. But turns out he was actually there to cost Damian the match and puts the leg rope on for the count break. And they actually showed the replay of that during the match, and you just
Yeah.
see Damian looking at it.
That's
And
great.
here is where we find out that the entire Judgment Day, well, half the Judgment Day is basically turning on Damian. And then the next day, we see Liv Morgan, Carlito, JD McDonough, and Finn Balor. They're all like against them. And the only two people left are Damian Priest and Rhea. And what a setup. What a great setup. I've kind of saw it coming, of course, but still, like you didn't know who was going to be there, how they're going to split it up, what the reasoning was going to be for it. I thought it was pretty great setup. What about you?
Yeah, so this is my match of the night. I love
Ooh,
this match, dude. I don't know about the bleeding, but I do know that when Gunther and other wrestlers wrestle a lot of the time,
yeah.
they do get cut up. Like it's
Oh
not just
yeah.
bruises, they get cut up
Yeah.
just from their strikes. Like another guy, Ilya Dragunov, you see him,
Yeah.
and it's crazy. But like, man, this was one of the most hard hitting matches I've ever seen. Like they were just really laying into each other based on the sounds of everything. But yeah, I just loved that, and I agree with your thought about Priest. Like I love that he's a big dude who can do big moves, but also these like cool kick moves and just like sometimes he has a lot of athleticism. And I really enjoy that, and I think this is like his best match, at least as champion.
Mhm.
And so I love that. And like you said, it was predictable. I had a feeling Finn was going to turn on him. They were
Yeah.
they were foreshadowing it. When we say predictable, it's not like it was like something that they weren't foreshadowing. They were very clearly
Yeah,
foreshadowing things.
like we saw that scene. Like I thought this was gonna happen in Money in the Bank. Like we saw how Finn was looking at him at Money in the Bank. You know, they had that close up of him after he tells him off a little bit,
Yeah.
and you could see it coming. So it's not like it's predictable. I think it's like obvious what's happening, but
Right.
you don't know when it's gonna happen. You don't know why
Right.
it's gonna happen. So I
Yeah.
think that's really interesting.
Yeah. There's definitely what's it called? The shift in the approach of storytelling is like, yeah, they make it clear where they're heading, but you don't know exactly when. Like even with Braun and Sammy, like a lot of people thought Braun was winning the title at Money in the Bank. And then a lot of people are like, well, why did he lose it? But, but like, so they kind of keep you on your toes in terms of when it's all going to happen. And
Yeah,
I didn't know, that was the thing. I didn't think both turns were going to happen at the same show. Like I didn't think Rhea and Damien were both going to be portrayed at the same show, but they were, and it just makes everything better. Like the next night on Raw, like, I've rewatched the end match, or like the end segment. Really, the match is cool, but like Damien getting beat up, Rhea's music hitting, the crowd going crazy,
yeah,
them just beating up everybody. That choke slam, the South of Heaven to JD is insane. Like he just goes like a starfish. His body is just like flat out. It's crazy. And then like the hug at the end, like it all, again, clear where they were going about it, but the execution was so well done
yeah.
that it almost makes it better because you're like, finally it happened,
Yeah. But like from what I know about wrestling is that these things do have real life repercussions, because when you break up a faction, that also means they're not like traveling together anymore, they're not staying together anymore, because what they do is like they have people like bunk together and travel together. So like when you see Rhea crying in the middle of the ring, you're like, it's true. She's no longer going to be in that role with Dom anymore.
Yeah,
And these are people they probably have like real connections with, right? They have like real, like whether they like him as a brother or they like him as family, like he's going to be traveling with Liv now. He's going to doing all the promos with Liv now. Like
yeah,
all of these things are going to happen, and it's really interesting to see like the Judgment Day break up, because they really are breaking up in real life, because they might be fighting each other, but like after that they're probably not going to do as many promos with each other, like same thing, like we haven't seen Jay do anything with his brother Jimmy in such a long time. And like it is, there are some real life consequences of like breaking up a faction like that.
for sure. For sure. There's definitely and I think I saw something online of like they were very like when they heard that this was the and like what was going to happen, it was a very emotional for the group, right?
Yeah,
Because like yeah, it's been I think almost 2 years that like the Judgment Day has been around. That's a long time to spend with people, and it's like not just every week. It's like you said,
yeah,
they're traveling, they're rooming together, so they're spending most of their days together, right? And so you become some sort of family, whatever that looks like. Obviously, is dependent on the people in the situation, but like you become bonded,
yeah,
and so yeah, I mean that's why like same like Triple H, Batista, Ric Flair, Orton, all really good friends as far as I've always heard, right? Because like
yeah,
they were Evolution together, and
yep,
and so Shawn Michaels and Triple H, like the best of friends. DX, like there's just always that bond outside the ring as much as there is inside, at least for like really successful and really like good groups,
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And then we got our final match of the night, which was Cody Rhodes and Solo Sikoa, which we knew it was Bloodline rules, so we knew a bunch of people were gonna pop in. So we see the Bloodline pop in. Then we also see Kevin Owens pop in, and we see Randy Orton pop in, right? And we see all of that stuff happen. I thought mostly par for the course. But
yeah,
then I felt like something happened, which I felt like kind of broke the rhythm of the match. And that was when Jacob Fatu jumped off the rope and slammed his leg on the table. And you see him try to get up, and he's like, "Oh shit, I can't get up. I'm injured." A lot of people are saying that's kayfabe, that it's a work. That looked real to me. So call me a mark. I think he really hurt himself off of that smash, and the main reason is because like the rhythm felt off. Like I felt like, you know, that Roman Reigns shows up, and which is dope, but I felt like him showing up was a little awkward. I felt like something else was supposed to happen, and the match kind of lost its flow. But that just might be me. That might just be me thinking that the whole Jacob thing was real, and because of that, it happened. But something like there was a little bit of a gap kind of between Jacob happening and then Roman Reigns coming on, and I was like, oh, did they mess up somewhere? Like I feel like the flow is off. What were your thoughts about that?
I didn't feel the flow was off at all, honestly.
Really?
I do agree that I think the injury is real.
Yeah.
How severe, I don't know. But I didn't feel the flow was off. Maybe
Yeah.
it's because I was just highly anticipating Roman showing up, so I was just like,
Yeah.
let's get to that point, and that
Yeah.
also like kind of blurred my vision on everything else. Once his music hit and the crowd erupted.
Is that new music? Because like I don't know what
It's
his
like there's the new intro to his original theme, like
Okay.
to his like bloodline theme.
Yeah.
There's like a new beginning to it. I don't know why they felt the need
Okay.
to do that, but because I watched the clip from Friday Night SmackDown when he
Yeah.
shows up, and if you just keep listening, it goes back to the theme, but it just has
Yeah.
this new intro. It's just
New
kind of
intro.
weird, but whatever. But yeah, I mean, the story of the night is just that Roman Reigns is just as over as Cody Rhodes now.
It's a lot. Like people didn't know how much they liked him until he left, because every night it's like we want Roman. I thought that was fantastic. I thought there's some cool clips where someone's like, "Roman, where are you?" And the second he says it, you hear his music and people go crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah, I thought that was fun.
it's funny because I think most people, if you talk to most wrestling fans, they never disliked Roman throughout his career. Like I've never disliked Roman. I've always been a fan of his since he debuted in 2012. But it's his booking that most of us didn't like.
What does that
A
mean?
lot of, so early on, after he left the Shield, he was very much booked like John Cena, where like he'd get beat up and he'd hit his few moves and he'd win. And just like constantly being also treated like the next guy. So he was given all the championships, whereas like Dean Ambrose wasn't, right? Dean Ambrose was being booked in like high profile stories, but he was losing a lot more. Whereas like Rome, it's like the Braun Breaker type thing, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Braun is just being treated like this big deal. He's already won. He's been on the roster, like the main roster, for like a couple months. Already won his first championship. LA Knight's been here for like 3 years and finally won his first championship. Like you see the difference in how characters are being booked. So Roman was getting more of that Braun or that Brock Lesnar treatment of just like, this is the guy. We're just going to give him everything, while also trying to portray him as an underdog. And it's like, well, you can't portray him as an underdog if he's getting everything. And if he's this huge dude. Like, how is he an underdog? Like, he's a monster. Like, he should just be. And so, but Vince was very hell-bent on trying to make Roman the next big baby face, and it backfired so hard. So in 2015, Daniel Bryan, this is when Daniel Bryan got really hot with the yes movement, the yes chants, and everything. And so it's Royal Rumble 2015. Daniel Bryan is not in this Royal Rumble at all, and so the fans already hate this match, right? And then they have Roman Reigns, who we already knew was going to be like the next big guy, win. And the fans boo him out of the building. Even The Rock came out, and The Rock is holding up Roman's arm, and he's pointing at Roman, and the fans are booing The Rock and Roman Reigns in 2015. And this is kind of where it really started, because this is where we realized, like, oh, okay, they're just strapping the rocket to Roman, as they say, and he's just going to be pushed as the next big thing. And so the fans really turned on him. And then he wins championships. He feuds with Brock Lesnar. He wins championships. He beats The Undertaker at WrestleMania, and like kind of, it seemed like he kind of retired him. They didn't officially say it. And
wait, I thought Brock Lesnar beat Undertaker at WrestleMania.
Yeah. But like Roman is the only other person I think to beat Lesnar, Taker at Mania.
Oh, I didn't know he beat him.
And when he beat Taker like did this whole thing where like there was this whole big ceremony. It seemed like Taker was retiring after this match. He didn't, but it seemed like it. And so Roman's out the next night. The fans are booing him for like 8 minutes straight on Raw and chanting like "F you, Roman"
as a face.
Yeah. He's a face. Wow. And Roman has the mic for like 8 minutes, saying nothing, just getting booed. "F you, Roman" chants, "You suck." And all he says is like, "It's my yard now," and stuff like that. And so again, Roman was just being booked in a way that the fans didn't want to accept him. Then they turned him heel, and fans appreciated that, and we enjoyed booing him. But then it just went on for so long, where he was like champion for like 4 years or whatever. And we're like, okay, we get it. Can you do like, so it's just the way he was always being presented never gave the fans a chance to actually cheer for him or really like embrace him. Because like when he was with the Shield, he was getting cheered. Like they had a Survivor Series match. It was the Shield and I forgot 2 other dudes. And he eliminated 4 of the 5 people in a Survivor Series match. And the fans ate it up. When he feuded with the Wyatts, the Shield feud with the Wyatts, the fans were loving it. It's not like people didn't want to like Roman. It's just the way he was being booked and the way he was being portrayed made it hard to like him because we had just gone through a decade of this with John Cena. And now we're going through this with a guy who at the time, especially, wasn't as talented as some of the other people that weren't being pushed. Like you had Seth Rollins, you had Dean Ambrose, you had Cesaro, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and several other dudes who weren't being pushed the way Roman was. But Roman was the guy, and they told us he was the guy. Daniel Bryan, other dude. So it's just like, but now you've gone through all this with Roman. You've done the whole thing of him being the not the final boss, but the tribal chief, head of the table. He lost to Cody in this big epic cinematic movie match that we get to see, and then to WWE's credit, they replaced him, quote unquote, with Solo, who is just, as Cody even said, cosplaying as the tribal chief. And you're like, wait, what is this? We want Roman like this, again, because I don't think people ever wanted Roman to go away. They just wanted him to be written to better in storylines, so and now we're getting that. And even just, I don't know if you saw what happened on SmackDown, but like Roman's this no nonsense dude. He just comes out, just starts beating people up. I'm like, that's all you ever had to do with Roman Reigns. You didn't have to do anything else. You didn't have to make him underdog. You didn't have to book him to be like, what's it called, weak or vulnerable or humble, or you just had to book him as a monster, and the fans would eat it up. And there we are. The fans are eating it up.
That was good. So someone did say that the walkway was too long and it took away from the dramaticness of them like running down.
I agree.
Randy and KO tried running down that long ass walkway.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty funny.
Even the way Roman entered the match though, or the ring, right? Like, okay, the walk is long, but like he slides in. Typically, WWE will do a thing where it's like he'll tease punching Cody. Like in typical WWE style, it'd be like he's looking at Cody while Solo's slowly getting up. So, but no, he slides in, hits Solo with a Superman punch, hits him with a spear. Peace, I'm out of there. I love that. No, like what's
like,
it called?
Who's he going to go after?
Yeah,
it was
no
very
drama,
clear.
no tension, no like, oh, we're gonna take our time and tease it. No, just I don't like this dude. I don't like what he's doing, so I'm just gonna let you know. I'm gonna take care of business. That's it. Take care of business and leave. That's it, Yeah. So I love that. Like it was a simple thing, but the fact that they didn't do the whole like, oh, maybe he's gonna hit Cody. No, he just went after Solo, and that was it.
Yeah. No, I like that. Seeing Roman come in was super hype. The Kevin Owens and Randy Orton was kind of like, all right, we've seen this story before so many
Yeah.
times, so that's whatever. But the Roman thing was really, really cool. What are your thoughts about Kevin Owens getting the title shot now?
Interesting for sure. Not what I was expecting. I don't know if it's just like because this is a like not a throwaway pay-per-view PLE, but like they just did all their big like title changes and storyline things
Yeah.
here. So I don't think there's going to be a lot of that at the next show, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it might set up for something. I don't want to see them turn KO heel. I like him as a face, but I also wouldn't be surprised if maybe this loss sets that up.
I don't know. It feels like though even him accepting it was like reluctant, right? He's like, "Oh, I don't think I deserve this, so I don't want this." But then he changed his mind once he knew that Roman was going to get it, right? So I think what we're going to do is going to get an AJ Styles kind of match. It'll be a really good match with a very predictable ending.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
Yeah, I could definitely see that. That's where I was thinking as well. But part of me was just like, the booker in me, in my head, I'm just like, oh, but I could see them potentially planting the seeds for a KO turn, not at that show, but like, he loses in this like really great match and he's like kind of frustrated and walks off.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just like, oh, what's this? Like he doesn't shake Cody's hand or something, right? Just to like plant seeds of like, what's happening, trouble in paradise here kind of thing,
Possible.
So, but yeah, I mean, KO versus Cody is pretty much guaranteed to be a really good match.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that. And to counter the comment before of Cody can't be the best match of the night. I think his match with AJ at Backlash was match of the night, personally. It was a great match. It was a fantastic match. And Cody has great matches by himself. So that's my opinion.
I don't think it's the best match of the night, but yeah, it was a pretty decent match. But it's kind of like par for the course for Cody. I've seen those before. What are your thoughts about RKO challenging Gunther, which makes a lot of sense because he did pin him, and Gunther does believe that he was not beaten clean. And I like the idea of him saying, "You'll never catch me out of nowhere." And Randy's like, "I want you to see it coming," which is really cool because he gets the RKO out of nowhere. So I'm really excited for this match. I feel like this could be a pretty good match if they build it up right.
Yeah, it's not where I expected them to go. Like that really did surprise me.
I didn't know if they could do this. That he's on SmackDown. He can go and challenge a Raw person.
I mean, those rules are very loose, honestly.
Okay.
But again, I'm still adjusting to the Triple H era where they take note of like things and try to make a continuity into storyline. Like
Yeah.
that was a clear botch, and Vince would often just like let it go, like forget about it, just move forward with whatever story you're
Yeah.
telling. But this time it was like, oh no, there was a clear botch. Let's make that part of the story now, and like set up a really fun and interesting match that like their promo was like, oh, this is good. I like this. I like the tension between them. He like Randy was like, there is no one better than the two of us in this ring. And I'm like, look at that. He's acknowledging that he's really talented, but he's also giving props to Gunther, which makes it just feel like, I don't know, for some reason for me, I was just like, now I really want to see them fight. Because you know what? When you think about it, I'm like, yeah, there aren't many better than those two in the ring. And so it's just like, oh, this is going to be a high quality match. So I like it. I am also just waiting for Randy to face Cody because there's so much story for that. So that's why I thought that's where it was going to go. Because like Cody and Randy were in a faction together many years ago.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, oh, that's the easy, and they're already connected because of the bloodline. Like
Right.
what they're doing with KO and Cody, I would have thought maybe they would have done that with Randy and Cody kind of thing, or Randy's the one that turns heel at some point.
Yeah.
If you even can turn him heel, honestly. Like, I don't know if Randy can turn heel, but it'll be interesting to see.
That is interesting. I don't know. I'd be very curious. I feel like that match was pretty good. Also, speaking of like Triple H trying to get botches and trying to explain them away. We never really got explained that botch with Damian Priest where he should have been pinned. I thought they were gonna really use like, oh, Finn Balor was part of that cover up and paid off the ref or
Yeah.
something. That would have been cool to see.
They did a small thing with it where Priest he acknowledged the issue or whatever to Seth and was like, so the agreement is null and void basically.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah.
you know, so not a huge storyline on, but it was like a plot point. Which again, at least they keep that continuity. Like,
You're right.
You know.
That is true. That is true. All right, cool. And then you know, the next day, we see that, you know, Finn talks about why he did everything, and he was like, you know, once you got the championship, you became like the leader, and we always said that there would be no leader of the Judgment Day, which is interesting because wasn't Edge their leader at one point, which is really, really interesting. I wonder if Edge will come back for the Civil War because they're quite outmanned, if you think about it.
It's unlikely, but it'll be interesting to see if they recruit anybody. It would be fun to see Jay for a little bit.
Jay, yeah. Jay fight with Rhea and get Rhea yeeting.
Yeah, but now that they're faces, they can easily like there's an easy bridge to build with pretty much anyone, right? Just because they're more fun and more interesting. But
they've also had a lot of issue with Braun Strowman, right? Like they've done a lot of stuff with him too, right?
Strowman is a good one. Yeah,
he could be brought in
for a bit. So yeah, that could be interesting. Yeah, those could be two. Maybe, I mean, Sammy hasn't really been involved with the Judgment Day too much, but maybe with Jay through Jay, if Jay gets involved, that could be cool. Because Jay wasn't on TV this week, was he?
No, I don't think he.
How insane is that? Like a top guy was just not on TV.
But you know, it's really funny. I saw a sign for Jay, and they give Jay a singles title shot was a sign that I saw in front row.
I would love for him to get the IC title. That'd be great. But I'm just saying, like, this is how well WWE is doing. That they like.
No, wait, no. Jay was on there. He was in a backroom interview because when Zayn was talking about how he was going to get another championship, he was talking to Jay.
Oh, okay.
So he was there, but
still, that's it.
He might have had a dark match or something.
Yeah, but like that's what I'm saying is like to not have him come out to the ring for a promo or just to like for the crowd, you know, like that's how packed and stacked their roster and show is right now that they didn't have to bring out Jay, which is wild.
Let's talk about how packed they are because the one people that we haven't even talked to is one of their most top thing right now, and that's the Wyatt Six and their beef with Chad Gable and his new team. We got to see their first 6-man tag, and that was exciting to watch. I feel like their you know first in-ring promo match as the Wyatt Six was pretty damn good. I was pretty excited about that. Yeah,
I mean there's some really talented wrestlers. Dexter Loomis and Joe Gacy, they're super talented. So like, and I've been a fan of both of them for a long time through NXT and everything. So seeing them get this opportunity was exciting, and I love their style. Like, it's very chaotic. It just feels like there is no strategy. Like they just like throw our bodies at everything and everyone, and I love that feeling. It's just so much fun.
It's very much like, oh, they don't feel pain and they can do anything to their bodies and stuff like that, which I think is really cool. And I still don't understand why Chad Gable. I don't get it. I don't know if they'll ever explain it, but it's just like they just picked him and that was it. But I do like Chad Gable's matches, man. He can wrestle. He's so good. He's very much like, you know, Kurt Angle 2.0, right? And the same thing. But and
wait till you see more of the Creeds. They're really good too.
The
Creed brothers are really good.
I'm excited to see what their first pay-per-view would be, right? So maybe we'll see the Wyatts at Survivor Series. That seems like a fun place to place them.
Isn't that so interesting though? That like their shows are booked so uniquely, right? Because
Yeah.
like the Wyatts are exclusively showing up on Raw,
Right.
not on any of the PLEs. They're not involved in any like so like they have enough people that they can kind of like disperse characters and stories
Yeah.
through the different shows where like certain people don't even need to show up on a pay-per-view and can just have like a weekly story, like a
Yeah.
4-week story just on Raw. Like that's what
Yeah.
they did with Chad Gable and have been doing with him pretty much. And like I think even with the Gunther, they did a lot of times. Like Chad and Gunther were
Yeah.
pretty much, I don't know if they even had a PLE match. Honestly, it was just like all on Raw. But it's
Yeah.
like so cool that they have so many people and so many things going on that
Yeah.
you can do that. You can fill up a card on a PLE, and still you're missing like 8 different people.
Half the like tag team matches were not on there. Like there's so like we haven't seen a single tag match.
Yeah.
Right. So we'll see. But yeah, these are the main points of the things that I wanted to go over. Anything we missed that we didn't talk about?
Trying to remember. I think those are all the big things, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing of like I guess real significance that I can think of. I mean, it feels like everything is significant now, though. But like nothing that sticks out. I think we covered all the weekly stuff too. That was important. I'm excited to see where things go for Bash in Berlin.
Me too. Me too. I think I'm very excited for the Randy Orton and Gunther match. That's probably going to be my favorite. And then we'll see how Cody and KO go. And then I definitely want to see what's going to happen with Rhea and Liv. So lots of fun stuff happening. I'm excited to see it. And we'll love to see your guys' opinions. So, guys, if you're listening, hit us up on the comments and let us know what you think. Nev, before we go, where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me at Nav the Poet, NAV the Poet, on Instagram, TikTok, and pretty much anywhere else. But those are the 2 main platforms I use.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And everybody else, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and tell people that we do wrestling now. And until next time, guys, Salaam, nerds.